in lieu of having any kind of expendable income to spend on expensive cars, this would be something along the lines of my dream car, a Resto-mod. This I haven't modified this one in the game. It's just stock because someone already modified this chassis or a chassis like this one. Same company, same basically everything. I forget what year it is though. It's called the Fugu Z. Let's go look at that one. Wide body. So basically a Resto-mod, modern rubber, an inline six, naturally aspirated. I've done some modifications to it to add horsepower to make it up, as it says right there, 322 horsepower. Just super light. It's just a super light car. And that's and part of the reason why this would be a dream car is because in specifically California, it doesn't have to comply to EPA standards because of its model year. But other than that, it's just really light, fairly aerodynamic. But the styling is just, I don't know, it has the Japanese take on the European lightweight sports car, and it looks really nice. Let's go and modify this thing and see how it handles. I'm going to take it to, let's see, Big Willow, I think. Where'd it go? There it is. Should I do a race? Nah, do single player. And the car has very basic mods. Let's take a look at them. So over here on this side of the page, it has basically no permanent modifications. It has just these parts here. And with that, let's go and try driving the car as it is with the sports soft tire. So this would be a street legal tire, like the maximum performance street legal tire you could get on the market. Not gonna make any changes. This is basically what it was. So this is stock, and then this is with the customized suspension. Actually, let's drive it with the actual stock suspension. See how it drives on the stock differential. There we go. Oh wow, it's left-hand drive. Some brake oversteer. Light trail braking and the car wants to rotate. Brake balance is set to zero traction control. Oh, I was going to change the transmission to stock. Before I continue, I already noted that it has a lot of brake oversteer, which at the level I was just driving, which is just kind of cruising, it's not a problem, but also not pushing. Let's go ahead and change the transmission back to stock just to see how what's the ratios like. 319, actually that's pretty good. Pretty good as it is. I think I get an extra gear with the customizable transmission. Testing the throttle lift. Car points but does not oversteer. Too fast. I think it's supposed to be a third gear turn, but I blew the entry. So I try to use the stock transmission wherever possible because it doesn't have the gear whine. If it's a good transmission, I'll just leave it stock. There are multiple ways to take turn 4. That's one of them. Oh, missed the apex of turn 6. Or is that turn 5? I think that's, yeah, the turn 5 and turn 6 was the one over the crest. This is turn 7. Turn 8 is flat out. Trail brake. I almost lost it on this corner in my Fiesta. I took my Fiesta on a track day here. Third gear. So already the car is controllable. If I want to just drive at this level, there's nothing I need to do to the car to make it any better. But I want to make it better. There's not enough power to cause power oversteer with these grippy tires. Another way to take this turn is to go wide here, set up for the sharp part of turn 4. I think that this is 5, and this one is 6. Okay. That means this is 7. The kink on the straight is not a turn. Okay, unstable on the brakes. This is real sketchy in real life. Just trying to figure out where to get on throttle, how much speed you can trail brake into that corner with. Okay, that's enough laps to get a sense of what the car is doing. So 180 is pretty good. Just to speed things up, I've tuned several dozens, I should say, not dozens of several dozens of cars with the sports soft tires. And the natural frequencies, while the spring stiffness is different for every car, but the natural frequency can be the same for multiple cars, depending on how similar they are. So with the sports soft tire, I like upwards of 2. Like 2.5, I'll go to 2.5 in the front. 210 was fine. I didn't have any throttle oversteer. The car was not snappy, so the anti-roll can stay where it's at, maybe even go higher. I'm going to bring this down to, I think that's like the minimum ride height I can run. If I had softer suspension, I'd have to raise the ride height a little bit. Dampers, I know I can get a little bit more stability with stiffer dampers. I'm going to try it as it is with these damping ratios. The differential was fine. I didn't have any problems. I might not even need to change it, but I could lock up the initial torque to reduce some of that rotation coming off the brakes. And the brake controller didn't have any issues with the brake bias. Aerodynamics is fixed. Transmission is fixed. Okay, let's drive it again, just with the front spring rate change. And I forgot the rear spring rate changed when I changed to the customizable suspension. So it is a little bit stiffer than it was before. Check the wobbliness. It's controllable. Much more stable on the brakes now. Oh, there's some oversteer on the brakes. Oh. Keep it on track. Oh, a little bit too wide. In real life, there'd be tons of rocks. Just hitting all these kinds of big old boulders. You don't want to run off at Willow Springs anywhere. Horseleaf Mile or Streets of Willow. So a little bit of understeer with the stiffer front spring, which is expected. I think it's a little bit too much understeer for my taste. And I have a lot of stability on the brakes, so I don't need so much stiffness on the front spring. And then when I over pressure the brake, the rears lock up, which is fine. I'm fine with that because the car is relatively, it's quick, but it's relatively slow. It's, you know, I'm not going 180 miles an hour in this car. Almost did the same thing there again. Okay, let's try turn 8 again. Should be flat out. Cranking the stick. Just past the house, then straighten out. Then brake. Trail brake all the way. Or maybe not. Had some room on the exit there. So that's enough to know the car understeers. Oh, wrong button. I'm not looking for lap time, I'm just looking for control. What kind of control I have over the car. So there is actually a trick with anti-roll bar. There's something called tire load sensitivity, where if the tire exceeds a certain load, it loses grip because it produces too much, that load produces too much heat in the tire. And so what you want to do is distribute that load across all 4 tires if possible. And what the anti-roll does is it reduces the loading across an axle. If I have it at 10, there's less roll, which means I can also run probably less camber, but 3 camber is fine. I can run anywhere between 4 and 2 degrees of camber and probably not notice a difference. So 3 is fine. And then, so I was getting, this would cause understeer, by the way, but if I soften this front spring, what that does is it causes dive in the front end when I lift off throttle. When there's any kind of forward moment in the weight shift, it's not really called weight shift, it's called load transfer. It'll distribute the weight across the axle better with the stiffer anti-roll bar. And the front natural frequency being softer than it was just now will bias the front end loading more than it was. I could even increase the rear spring to amplify that effect, which I'm not going to do. And another aspect to having a softer front spring rate, there's the understeer. Another aspect of having the softer front spring rate with the stiff anti-roll bar is that there's less push on throttle. The anti-roll bar will cause mid-corner understeer, but there's less push on throttle because the front springs aren't pushing back against the back tires when the weight or the load transfers to the rear on throttle. So there's actually more oversteer on the brakes with the stiffer anti-roll bar in the front. That's how powerful the stiffer anti-roll bar has the effect. What am I trying to say? That's how much more effect the front end has because of the stiffer anti-roll bar, is that it's now more sensitive on the brakes, as well as this softer front spring rate. So there's tiny little brakes that causes a ton of rotation. Okay, that's good. I want that, but not as much. So I'm experiencing is too much understeer. And you think, oh, I could reduce the anti-roll bar. Instead, I'm going to increase the rear anti-roll bar. That'll cause even more oversteer on the brakes, which then I can now gauge what kind of spring rates I want for the front and rear. Remember, we're trying to reduce the lateral load transfer by increasing the anti-roll bar. And also having stiff anti-roll bars, continuing on that subject, you can run less camber angle because the body is rolling less. So even more rotation on the brakes. Just dab the brake and it rotates into the corner. But it's a little bit too violent. So I just dab the brake and it just rotates like that. I don't know if you can tell, but if you're watching the inputs at the bottom of the screen, you can see the steering wheel in the car. That is not a one-to-one comparison to what I'm doing, but you can see that oh, that was just understeer. You can see I'm turning into the corner with the graphics of the steering wheel, and when I go on the brakes, just a little dab, I'll do it in turn 9, the car just rotates. Less understeer through 8, dab the brake, and it's 50% brake there, and it's just rotating like crazy. So what that means is the front spring rate is too soft and the anti-roll up front is too stiff. So was that 4? Let's go to 8, or actually 7. And then this, I'm gonna try to do this as quickly as possible, so I'm doing more than one change at once. So it was at 2.5. I'm gonna go to, and I went down to 2.2. So I'm gonna go to 3. Oh, was it not 3, but 2.35. There we go. So now it should be a little bit more stable on the brakes and have less understeer. Let's see. It's not as violent on the rotation. The brake steer, I guess you call it, I don't know. very gently on the brakes and it rotates in. So the front spring is still too soft. The anti-roll is getting good rotation off throttle. The anti-roll up front is better. I'm just driving sloppily. Turn 8 is easy, flat out. As it, oh, maybe not so easy. Sorry for the intermission. Had to take a quick break. Lots of rotation on the brakes. So, it means I need stiffer front springs again, and softer front anti-roll again. And there's also the effect of the rear anti-roll. Could be stiff. And instead of reducing the rear anti-roll, I'm going to reduce the rear spring. So this could be, let's see. Let's just go to 4.5. Oh no, 4.2. And then this can go down 2 points. Oh, and then there's the issue of the damper. The dampers could also be soft, causing the oversteer. I'm going to focus on the spring rates first. Okay. A lot more stable, less violent on the brakes, so less of that. It'll still do that, but it's a lot more controllable. See how it takes turn 8. Just past the house this time. Okay, there we go. And it rotates really smoothly. I don't know if you saw that, but it just drifted into that corner like no other. I'm not looking for a time attack car. I'm looking for a fun car when I'm tuning this. So that oversteer is really nice. Of course, it doesn't work if I slow down too much. Need to trail brake properly into the corner to get it to rotate. Okay, so I'm at a good point. The front end is closer to what I want, but the rear end is still too sticky. The car just is too planted. So I'm going to increase this to 2.5. And then this is going to go up 3. I'm going to bring this down 1. So 4 is where it started, and it's back at 4. And then dampers I'll get to later. Oh, now it's, oh yeah, I think it's perfect. So it's doing it a lot less. I don't know if you were paying attention to how much it was rotating on the brakes, how much less it's rotating on the brakes now. Test it in turn 2. Oh, that's really nice. Get that perfect 4-wheel steer. Oops. Too fast. I'm gonna stay in third here. Oh. So it's actually understeering more with less anti-roll in the front. I don't quite know the braking zone for turn 1 yet. Okay, so it's actually understeering too much. It's very nice. It's closer to a time attack build now than it was. So I'm gonna reduce the front natural frequency by 1 point. And the rear, I didn't have any problems on throttle. So when I get to the dampers, the stiffer rear dampers that I'm going to have as soon as I change them, is going to make the rear end a little bit more snappy. So let's get onto the dampers. This is what I always do. 40 on the compression, 50 on the expansion for both front and rear. Actually, technically, since the rear spring rate is stiffer than the front, I might want to reduce the compression, but I'm not going to, because what happens is the dampers affect the transitional load when the car is going into max G-force lean, when the car is turning. It happens slower, it's stiffer, but the spring rate it manages the maximum, how much it leans at the maximum force. I mean, it does more, but that is its main effect, because if there was no spring, the damper would just keep compressing until it bottoms out. The spring is what supports the damper. Let's test the brakes like that. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And it is, I only changed the front natural frequency by 1 point. Or sorry, not 1 point, but 0.01 point. You know, 1 click. So that 1 click couldn't possibly be making such a big effect on the rotation. So it's mostly the rear dampers that are allowing the car to rotate more than it was. And there's throttle oversteer, barely throttle oversteering. throttle oversteer there. Super controlled shell braking rotation. The dampers made the front end stiffer by making the damper stiffer, which is clear. Now there's the off-throttle rotation. When I drop the brakes, it rotates violently. Like that. Whoops. Don't quite have turn 6 down yet. Turn 1 and turn 6 are my problem corners. A little too much sliding. Braking 100 maybe. That's still too early. See if I can take turn 3 properly. There we go. Do some initial D action there. Oh, lifts. That was clean. Okay, so now the car is almost done. Like, I don't need to change pretty much anything. But I'm going to, what am I going to do? The throttle oversteer was good, but there's some rotation I want to get rid of, and I have to do that with the initial torque here. I changed the damper to have more transitional stability when the car leans from left to right. The front end loads up quicker, which means there's more quote-unquote understeer or more stability when the car is transitioning from left to right. And then this is going to go to 50. And this is going to go to 70. So with sticky tires, you can have a more open differential, especially with traction control. It basically gives you like perfect power delivery. With the brakes, if you have perfect ABS, like in this game, open braking sensitivity really helps because the ABS is perfect. It's four-wheel ABS. If you lock up a tire, it'll apply ABS to that tire. So 20 is fine. But I want to control the rotation more coming off the brakes and off the throttle. So I changed the initial torque. So come off throttle, stable. Let's try trail braking into turn 1. A little bit past 100. Coming off the brakes is really stable, especially if I'm in the wrong gear. So there's the brake lift oversteer. It just kind of points the nose in, but it doesn't want to just keep rotating. But it does want to understeer there now because of the initial torque that I changed. So still throttle oversteer even with the damper changes. See, flat out turn 8. Dip it into the dirt a little bit. Yep, turn 8's flat out. Oh, and that's how everyone takes turn 9. Dip into the dirt a little bit on the outside. Not intentionally, of course. Nope. Trying to keep it on track on turn 1 too. So, I'm gonna do a quick drive for 2 laps. Oh, start that over. The car is basically done. I'm gonna do some fine tuning to get the car more perfect. It's not quite perfect right now, but it's really good. Okay, stay on track. Brake here. So stable. Rotates into turn. Why are my tires so quiet? They should be making noise. You want to pull the handbrake? Yeah, the tires are not making a noise. There they go. Making noise on the dirt. Now the tires are making noise. Let's try that again. Brake just past 100. Missed the apex. Even with 322 horsepower, is still a momentum car. But especially with these tires. Tires have so much grip. A little bit better there at turn 1. Shell brake here, just kind of drifted in. Still really bad at turn 6. Make it at 22. Oh, not quite. Almost to 22. And now I'm going to leave you with the replay. Till the next one.